Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Carol. I'm an author, a healer, a fairy whisperer, and I work with fairies and Morgan and the Fairy Sisters of Avalon. And today I've been asked to do a video on crystal fairies. And this was Naomi who asked for the specific video. So thank you, Naomi. And this is a very perfect time in ascension for us to be talking about crystal fairies. So I understand that I need to be much more conscious of the fact that we have more and more people that are coming onto our channel that have not been with us from the beginning, and so they have not the knowledge about what a fairy is and what a fairy does. So what I want to do is basically just do a brief review of what a fairy is, and then go on to talk about crystal fairies. And then what we're going to do is learn how to connect with the crystal and the crystal fairy, and then we'll make a crystal grid. So this is going to be a very interesting and multi-layered video. So what is a fairy? Well, a fairy is a nature spirit that is sent by the divine to act as a guardian to either a flower, a tree, a rock, any aspect of nature. And of course, today we're working with crystals. So, I'll just get my rose quartz out right now and we'll talk about this. Now, each of these nature spirits are placed into categories as they become a guardian. So they're either in any of the elements of air, earth, water, or fire. And of course, when you think about a crystal would be part of the earth fairy category. And this is a huge category that contains everything from the gnomes that look after the landscape of the earth, to rock fairies, crystal fairies, tree fairies, flower fairies. There's just so many different fairies that are in this category. It's massive. But crystal fairies are very unique, and we'll get into this very shortly. Now, each of the fairy kingdoms has a monarch, and in this case of the earth fairies, the monarch is Gob. And this is a fairy that looks after the rest of this kingdom, watches over them, and then reports everything that is going on the earth plane to an archangel. And in this case, it is Archangel Uriel, that is Auriel, that works with Gob and the earth fairies. Now, the fairies are wanting me to stop at this moment and specify that fairies are earth angels. And I know this is difficult for many people to wrap their minds around. So I would like you to be very open-minded about this, but they truly are divine beings of light, sent by the divine, and they have the angel essence, but they work on the earth plane. You see the fairy in the background. I hope you caught that in the background. So we have many nature spirits that are helping us right now. Now, please be aware that fairies do have egos, and this is, part of them being here on the earth plane. They have them. And as a result, each of them is very unique in their personality. All right, so we're keeping this in mind as we're going into the crystal fairies. They're telling me also to mention that fairies are energy beings, so they have no composition, no physical form until they decide to take one. All right, so once again, when you're talking about a crystal fairy, and they have me holding the rose quartz right now, but I'm going to put her down and pick out a clear quartz crystal right now, which will be part of our crystal grid. So inside the crystal, you are going to have the spirit of the crystal and then the crystal fairy who is working with it. And they're saying I'm moving too fast. All right, so let's go to the point where a crystal fairy would be assigned to come down to Earth. So a crystal fairy is given codes by the divine that they are to use fairy magic when they come down to Earth to actually place the codes within the crystal that they are going to be working with. Now, excuse me for a moment. I'm inside today, and I know the furnace is kicking on, so I hope this doesn't make too loud a noise. Now, they're wanting me to say that all crystals are placed in very specific areas of the Earth. And they're flashing lights at me right now, so be very precise, they're saying. Throughout the Earth, you have pockets of energy. You have the ley lines, and then you have pockets of energy. And this is where crystals are placed, all right? They are placed very geometrically, they want me to say. Major chills when I say that. And so I want you to think about this. Because of the way that a crystal is placed on the earth plane, they are each very high frequency light beings that are sending out their light. They are way showers. They vibrate very high, which I'm sure you all are aware of. And they send their light and their codes out in these areas where they've been divinely placed. Now, the fairy is there to put the codes into them and highlight them with fairy magic and to make them very unique. All right, so every crystal is unique, every fae is unique, each blade of grass is unique. You know, we go on and on. Each person is unique, each animal is unique. Everything has its own individual uniqueness and identity and special gift that they are supposed to share with the world. And in the case of the crystal, they are to beam their codes and their light as way showers on the earth. And as I said, they are geometrically placed so that their light will do the most good. I want you to truly process this, because as you know, not all crystals stay in the earth. They are harvested. And this is a very delicate point that the crystal fairies want me to speak with you about. They're saying that many of you have seen videos and worked with people that will tell you how to make a crystal grid and how to work with crystals. But they are saying, you're having me tweak my nose almost like I'm little Tinkerbell right now. They are saying, how many of you have been taught about connecting with the crystal itself and the fairy being that is a part of it? All right, this is what we're going to do today. They're also saying once more to hold up the clear quartz crystals to show that even when a crystal is harvested, it continues to emit its codes and its light. And so if you were to ever watch films or videos where you see in slow motion how a crystal continues to grow and expand, you'll see almost like little bursts occurring through time-lapse photography. And that is the crystal emitting its light and its code, even after it has been harvested. Now, this is where they want me to be very careful and delicate. Crystals, some crystals are very open to being harvested so that they may be worked with and utilized for good on the earth. And so they will give their approval to be taken from their spot. However, this is not the case for all crystals. Some crystals are so geometrically placed that if you remove them, you are not only wounding the crystal Fae, but you are wounding the land where they are placed. You are upsetting the sacred geometry and light and coding of that area. And so they want us as way showers, as light workers, to be very, very careful when you're going to select a crystal. Now, sometimes you are just gifted with a crystal, and you can be almost 100% certain if you are gifted with a crystal, you will know that that crystal is meant for you. I will give you an example from my own life. When I was just coming into my early practices, I was just learning Reiki at this time. My aunt literally sent to me through the mail a crystal pendant, which, as happens with many fairy gifts, has disappeared over the years. It has gone back to source. But what was the magical thing here was I was sending Reiki to my aunt, and she intuitively knew this, even though her physical being did not know this. And so she sent me a crystal pendant. And it was a very precious part of me. I wore it everywhere for the time that it was in my possession. So you can be sure that a gift like that is a very willing crystal. It is divinely arranged for you to work with that crystal. Now, if you go into a crystal shop, or as we're at this time in Ascension right now, where you cannot go out to crystal stores, they are closed, but you may be shopping for them online. The crystal fairies are asking me right now to really speak to you about how important it is that if you're shopping online, you take time to connect with the crystal that you are thinking about purchasing. And I'll show you how to connect with crystals very shortly, but the idea here is, were you humanely harvested? Are you willing to work with humanity for the greater good? And you can say of ascension of the earth, however you want to phrase this. Get the answer from the crystal before you purchase the crystal. And this is my sacred duty right now to relay this information. I know people tell you to really be careful when you choose crystals, but truly, with this video, I would like to teach you how to tune into the crystal fairy and the crystal spirit itself. And make sure, dear ones, that the crystal is meant to be in your possession, and you are meant to work with that crystal. The information that has come to me is that crystals have been harvested against their will. And when that happens, as I said, it throws off the whole balance of the area, of the crystal itself, of the Fae. And so if you do come across a crystal like this, there are different names for this kind of crystal, and I'm not going to put it out there. I just asked if I could, and they said no. So we will just say a crystal that has not been harvested with its approval. When you come across those, it is certainly within your power to take time and heal that crystal if you feel guided to do that. And I will show you how to do that momentarily. I know there was so much more information they wanted me to convey, and I'm just asking right now if it needs to come before we start the actual working with the crystal. They say we can go forward. All right. So what I want to do, I'm going to put the rose quartz down because I work with her all the time. I have a crystal grid before me. That was once a Reiki crystal grid. This is something they want me to talk to you about. It has been liberated. As they said, we want to be liberated. And so how do you cleanse a crystal to liberate it? They told me last night they wanted to be placed out in the moonlight and then the sunlight of the day. And this is going to continue for them after I do this video because they want more cleansing. I am told, at least for this Reiki crystal grid, this is much more attuned to what they would like, as opposed to placing them in salt water, which is what I was initially taught when I was learning how to do a Reiki crystal grid. So please be mindful of what the crystal would like for cleansing. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pick up one of the quartz, the clear quartz right now. And I've worked with all of these before, first in the Reiki crystal grid and then preparing for this video. So I am attuned to them. But what I would like you to do, if you have a crystal right now that you're working with, and maybe you've worked on it, worked with it for healing, manifestation, or just possessed it and never really communicated with it, I'd like you to put the crystal in your hands, if you can, in the small of your hands, and allow yourself to grow crystal roots from the balls of your feet into the earth. Go deep down into Gaia. In fact, Gaia is showing me her crystal heart, so go all the way down into Gaia's heart and partake of her crystalline energy as we work with one of her children, she is saying. All right. Now, as you feel the energy from the earth coming up through your feet into your body, allow it to come up through your heart. And what the crystal and Gaia and the crystal Fae are saying right now, they're reminding us that as we're moving to fifth dimension, we are becoming crystalline. And so this is why the crystal fairies want you working with them. And they want us today to connect to the divine crystalline grid of Gaia. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that. And so we're connected to her through our roots. And her energy, her heart energy, has come up into our heart. It is now spilling out through our hands into the crystal itself. Now I'd like you to take a moment and just feel the energy of the crystal. And as you do, allow yourself to feel the sensation of its energy. Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it a pleasant sensation? Is it in pain? How does the crystal feel to you? Now allow yourself to move your consciousness into the crystal. They're telling me if you're a shaman or engage in shamanic practices, this is almost like projecting practice, where you project yourself into the crystal. They're saying, but not quite. So I'm just trying to give you an idea if you're used to that kind of practice. Your thoughts are becoming one with the crystal spirit, the crystal Fae. They're saying most humans want to know the name of the crystal Fae. Please know that in the fairy realm, there truly are not names. It is humans who place names upon the Fae. So it's not necessary, unless you want it to be. It would be then you seeing what name comes to your mind, and then seeing if the Fae and the crystal accept that. Now, what you should be doing as you feel yourself being drawn into the crystal, into your connecting your consciousness with the crystal, is sending your love to the crystal Fae, and telling them that it would be your greatest honor to work with them. It is my greatest honor to work with you, dear one. You may find at that point, depending on how you connect, a visual, a clairaudient expression, or you may find a touch of the Fae. One just brushed across my hand. Accept that. Ask if there is anything that you can do for the crystal and the crystal fairy at this time. They're saying it may be something along the lines of cleansing, like I just mentioned. How best this crystal may be cleansed. How best you may work with this crystal. Does the crystal want to be part of a grid? Does the crystal want to go solo with you? Breathe in that answer. Ask the crystal and the crystal Fae to share with you what its purpose is. What are its codes? What has it been brought here to do? Now mine is responding, heal, heal, heal. It was a Reiki crystal in a Reiki crystal grid, and still very much a healing crystal. Make sure if the crystal fairy and the crystal has communicated that there is something that they want you to do, that you do it. Okay, please remember that I've been working with these crystals, so I've already started what they've asked me to do for them. All right. Now, when you feel that you've connected with this crystal and the crystal fairy, you've basically found out if you are able to work with them, what they would like you to do for them, how they want to work with you. make sure you understand whether they want to be indoor or outdoors, the crystal fae are saying. Liberated. That's what they kept telling me yesterday. We want to be liberated. All right. Now what I think I would like to do is actually shift perspectives on this video. I hope I can do it without losing you, dear ones, but I have a crystal grid set up, and this is set up in what I would consider a non-traditional manner. Because once again, I've been used to using a Reiki crystal grid. So I'm going to delicately try to shift perspective here. All right, now I'm going to stand up so you can get a better look at this. All right, there is more to this that I'm showing, and that's my computer screen beyond it. I had to have it to support the phone before. Now, the paper that's in the center, the symbol is Archangel Metatron's cube. This, for me, is going to be a crystal grid for today's purposes, linking us to Gaia's ascension crystalline grid. It is often called the 144 crystalline grid. Okay. There are more pieces here than is necessary, they want me to say, but I was guided to do this. So what I would like to do is basically point out what we have here. We have a central magnifier clear quartz surrounded by the clear quartzes that were the original Reiki crystal grid, and I'm pointing to them. Okay. We have node points here, which are crystalline pyramids. And then we also have amethyst pieces coming out. And then the rose quartz and another blue crystal that is completing the nodes on the sides. If I move back, you can see there is also a crystal wand and several fairy pieces beyond that. So the crystal grid is larger than you're seeing right now, plus a beautiful dandelion is over here. Hello, dear one. Well, she wanted to be a part of this, and so she is included as well, the dandelion fae. All right. Now, as I move closer, what you would do is take each piece of your crystal grid. For instance, they're saying call it the central point, not necessarily calling it a magnifier. And you would do exactly what you just did, connecting with the crystal before. And you would then infuse it with the divine purpose of your grid. So they want me to give you examples right now. I'm going to put my hand back down. Put her back into the grid itself. And you would basically hold her in your hand, and I bless this crystal with light. And you would say this 3 times over, utilizing the light from yourself and Gaia. They're saying hold her. Okay. I bless this crystal with light. I bless this crystal with light. I bless this crystal with light. Okay, I bless this crystal with love. Repeat that 3 times. I connect this crystal, and they're saying this is very important, to its original placement on this earth. And we will be working with the node points on this. I connect this crystal to Gaia's crystalline grid. Okay, and then place into this crystal what you want to do with that. I connect this crystal to Gaia's crystalline grid to awaken more people, more beings upon this earth, to bring more people to the light, to help more people lift to the fifth dimension. However you want to word that, be very specific with the wording, okay? Then you are going to do that with each of the crystals in the original crystal grid, okay? And then you take the main central pointer, which is right here, and you are going to start actually blessing and sending this energy to each point. Do you see how the nodes are coming into it right here? Okay. Now they're saying I moved a little too fast. So before I do that, you would then take each of the nodes in your hand and get to know the nodes, the node fairies in the crystal, and basically set the intention that this is going to link to Gaia's 144 grid, okay? Set the intention it is to bring more people to the light, to help more beings awaken. Do that with each of the node points. And if you have additional magnifiers like I do out here and here, you would also place that intention in them as well. Then you take your pointer and you start doing the blessing. I bless this grid with light to bring more people into the awakening state. I bless this grid. I connect it to the divine ascension grid of Gaia to bring more people into the awakening state. And you go around to each point, to the nodes in particular here. I connect this grid to its original placement in the earth. Okay? I connect each crystal in this grid to their original placement in the earth so they may shine their light and their codes with greater frequency. All right, and then you would go to this point here and you would bring them in with your blessing and think through the blessing very carefully. Then this node point here, and once again, connecting to Gaia's grid and to the original crystal placement that these crystals were in. Okay, the same here. And then as you finish, I always seal with the Avalon symbol. So I would do the reverse spirals. Some of you already know this. If not, if you're interested in seeing it, please message me and I'll give that to you. Now, this is a very quick explanation of crystal grid work. If you'd like this in more detail and you're interested, I can set up a crystal grid class, and it would be a Faerie crystalline grid class. So let me know in the messages, the comments. They're saying to make sure people see that we also had moonstones placed here. That once again is my power stone, and it is the stone of Avalon as well. All right, now I'm just going to step back. Once again, there is a crystal one on this side and additional pieces over here too, and the divine goddess here as well. Well, dear ones, I'm going to flip back. That was a lot of information in a very short time frame. So please let me know if you have questions, and if you'd like to see more about the crystal fairies, then give me a message, because I know they have so much they want to teach right now, and they're saying again, we are all becoming crystalline, and so you must connect with us to gain greater insight in this transformation that is occurring within you. So thank you so much for tuning in. They're saying to tell you about my website, everythingfairy.co, where I have all kinds of fairy workshops you can sign up for. There's an introduction to fairies, animal fairies class. There is a fairy whisperer class, and all kinds of, there's the artistic fae class, there's a lot of different things that you can sign up for. So thank you again for tuning in. Fairy blessings, one and all. Please let me know how you're doing in the comments. I hope you are all well. And just sending you my love from the fairy realm. Fairy blessings, dear ones. Oh, and I will be doing a collaboration on the new moon, and I'll be giving you information on my page here. So look for that in the page information. Thank you again. Fairy blessings, one and all.